Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's the old captain coming to you live from Crooked Creek, sitting here in the canoe right along the bank, not far from the dock. Beautiful afternoon. It's Sunday afternoon. Had a great morning at church this morning and just wanted to share a few thoughts from our Sunday school lesson this morning. And our text today is found in the first few verses of Numbers chapter 14. Now I want to give you a little setting. We talked about this some last week. The Israelites, God had allowed Moses, or gotten Moses, to lead the people out of Egypt. They've crossed the Red Sea. They've received the commandments on Mount Sinai. They've come through the wilderness, and they're right on the threshold, right on the edge of going into the promised land. I think we talked about that last week. And so they sent 10 spies into the land, and they came back with mixed reports. Two of them, Caleb and Joshua, said, the Lord promised us this land. He said we could have it, and we need to go on in and get it. Well, the others, 10 of them said, oh no, there's no way in the world. These people are too big. There's their fortresses. There's huge men. There's no way in the world we can defeat these people. It's just the end of the road. The end of the road. Well, normally, well, I won't say normally, a lot of times the majority are correct. But folks, this time the majority were way off base. Anytime God is on our side, we are where we need to be. But 10 of the spies said, I don't care what God has done. It doesn't matter to us, all the blessings, all the signs that we've seen along the way. There's just no way we can go in and take this land. Only 2 of the 12 said, we can do it. Well, let's look at the people's reaction. After they heard all that, it says, so all the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept that night. And the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron, and the whole congregation said to them, if we only had died in the land of Egypt, or if only we had died in this wilderness, why has God allowed us to fall by the sword that our wives and children should become victims? Would it not be better for us to return to Egypt? So they said to one another, let us select a leader and return to Egypt. They were so overwhelmed with fear, lack of faith, lack of trust in God, full of doubt, that they said, wouldn't we have been better off if we'd have stayed in Egypt? Wouldn't we have been better off if we just died here in the wilderness? So what about our kids? What about our wives? Said, let's just get up a new leader, and go back to Egypt. Well, Moses and Aaron were beside themselves, and they just fell on their faces. Caleb and Joshua, it says they tore their clothes. In King James, they might say they rent them in twain. They tore it apart. When you tore your clothes in those days, it was like a sign of mourning, a sign of just very deep hurt. And Caleb and Joshua, they just said, we can't believe it. They just tore kind of like Hulk Hogan, they just tore their shirts. But they were just so disappointed. And so you wonder, what in the world were these people thinking? And Caleb finally, he speaks to them, and he and Joshua, they tell him, said, the land that we went through is exceedingly good land, And if the Lord delights in us, he will bring us into the land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. But do not rebel against the Lord, nor fear the people of the land, for they are our bread. Their protection has departed from them, and the Lord is with us. So do not fear them. Here's these two guys standing strictly on their faith in God, standing strictly on what God had done in the past, basing their actions on seeing God's signs through the years. They'd seen the parting of the Red Sea. They'd seen the plagues in Egypt. They'd seen God provide manna. They'd seen God deliver them and direct them by day with a cloud, by night with a pillar of fire. And they said, God doesn't change. That same God that delivered us back there has promised this land to us, and he'll let us conquer it. Didn't say it'd be easy, but he said he'll let us conquer it. Well, because those 10 said there's no way, the people just panicked. And they said, no, we'd be better off to go back. And as far as that's concerned, we're all going to die right here anyway. You know, they just felt like they could stone these, leaders. They were just so upset. So anyway, I didn't know what that was. But anyway, just a lot of confusion, a lot of turmoil. And it's so easy to point and to say, I can't believe they were like that. We point at the disciples. Sometimes we say, that they were with Jesus and they still had doubts. Folks, people are people. We have doubts, we have shortcomings, and so did they. So it's not unlike us. But don't we need a Caleb in our life? Don't we need a Joshua in our life to say, hey, God says it, let's trust it, let's believe it, and he will take care of us. We need those people in our lives. We need to surround ourselves with Calebs and Joshuas. But folks, more importantly, we need to be Caleb. We need to be Joshua to people around us. That's my prayer. I want to be a Caleb. I want to be a Joshua. Well, our song today is one that I've not done, which is unusual because I'm pretty repetitious. But this song is entitled Faith is the Victory. Faith is the victory. And just think, if they had the faith to trust in God, to let him do what he said he would do, they would have been victorious. But instead, it didn't work out. It just did not work out. If you're not familiar with the story, God says, he was ready to zap them all. And Moses said, Lord, let's don't do that. Have mercy and compassion. You're long-suffering, you're patient, you're merciful. And God says, well, I'll forgive them, but there's still going to be consequences. And the consequences were that they were banished back to the wilderness for 40 more years. And the ones who were 20 at the time, everybody 20 and older would die in the wilderness and would never see the promised land. Folks, when we sin, when we do things against God, even when we're forgiven, there's still consequences. And that's what these consequences were. But they could have saved all that trouble if they had the faith that they needed. Faith is the victory. 1 John 5:4 said, this is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. The writer of this song is John Yates, who lived from 1837 to 1900. 3 verses. It's kind of got a little peppy beat, so sing with me if you will. Encamped along the hills of light, ye Christian soldiers rise, and press the battle ere the night shall veil the glowing skies. Against the foe in vales below, let all our strength be hurled. Faith is a victory we know that overcomes the world. Faith is a victory, faith is a victory. Oh, glorious victory that overcomes the world. His banner over us is love, our sword, the word of God. We tread the road the saints above, with shouts of triumph trod. By faith like wind, by faith they like a whirlwind's breath swept on o'er every field. The faith by which they conquered death is still our shining seal. Faith is a victory, faith is a victory. Oh, glorious victory that overcomes the world. Got a little tongue-tied on that second verse. To him who overcomes the foe, white raiment shall be given. Before the angels he shall know his name confessed in heaven. Then onward from the hills of light, our hearts with love aflame will vanquish all the host of night in Jesus' conquering name. Faith is a victory, faith is a victory. Oh, glorious victory that overcomes the world. John says this is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. Now, folks, if you were approaching that threshold, if you had been with that band of Israelites, would you have gone with the majority who said no, or would you have gone with the two who said, God has promised us this land. He promised it years ago to our forefather Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And he is good for his promises because God cannot change. He cannot do anything but good, anything but be who he is. I hope you have that victorious faith that we just sang about. If you don't, I pray that you will soon. Thank you for joining us for this week's Crooked Creek Hymn of the Week. We hope to see you next week. Hope you have a great week coming up. We got a lot on the books. We're going to have a lot of fun this week. So thank you for following us, but particularly for following our Crooked Creek Hymn of the Week. So until next time, you take care and God bless.